Now, with the end of the end of year exams approaching, pupils will again find themselves studying using LED lights and candles. Meanwhile, Gauteng Education MEC Panyaza Lesufi has again stressed the increasing demand for education in this province. He says over 1,000 additional classrooms are being built. To speak to us on that and other issues, including the impact of power cuts on learning, I'm joined by the CEO of the Governing Body Foundation, Dr. Anthea Cereseto. Thank you very much, Doc, for your time here, and good afternoon. Just firstly, let's talk about, the fact that we have all these power cuts that clearly disrupt schooling to a point where the Education Minister tries to speak to Eskom to try and see if they could mitigate or not have schools as part of the load shedding schedule. We already have a class of 2022 that missed out on a lot of learning because of COVID-19. How bad, how bad is this for them right now?
Right. Good morning. Thank you. With the rest of the country, industry, small businesses, etc., education is affected. Health. Everybody is saying, please spare us the load shedding. If you cut off schools or you exclude schools during the daytime, those children go home to homes at night where it may very well be cut off as well. So it is a real problem. And I think it's adding to the stress levels. As you know, approaching exam time, learners, their families are quite stressed. I'm not really sure what we can do about it. The fact of the matter is we are short of power. How do we distribute it so that we mitigate the bad effects is something that those who are able to do something must apply their minds to. We need, in many schools, time to teach with things that are connected to electricity. There are practical examinations that will need to take place that will require electricity, such as hospitality, home economics, the computer-related subjects, and a few other technical subjects. So managing those things are very difficult. I think everybody's learning skills that they didn't learn before, such as how to manage, how to plan. Children are doing that too. How to plan their learning schedules according to cutoffs and so on. What is really distressing is when the time to be restored is not the time that actually happens. So they thought they would have time to work with electricity and then it's not restored. That anxiety, I think, is affecting teachers in schools who said, well, let's just wait. But there's some things that you just can't change in schools. So yes, it is affecting. I think it's anxiety, the inability to plan and do the best that we would want to do. Everybody wants to do better.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
It's not happening. And, people mustn't think that the advantaged so-called schools are all empowered with generators. That's not so. They can't afford to run generators either. They may have a small one for basic necessities. But across the country, everybody is finding this a stressful time.
And, coming to the fact that this might mean a change in the curriculum, do we even have time to start discussing that now with the exams so close?
Not for the grade 12s. As in past years, the grade 12s have been required to complete the curriculum as already laid down. They've managed amazingly well, and I dare say they will manage well in this particular examination as well. Through the assistance of their teachers and their families, somehow they make a plan. There's a lot of extra teaching, coaching, pushing as we approach the starting dates very soon. They push hard in that grade 12 year.
Yeah.
And we certainly wish them all the best in the circumstances. It is LED lights, it is candles.
Yeah.
And I think they have already learned some of those skills in order to cope with it. The younger children, we can still do something about that. We can spread the essential learning topics over a longer period. That can be done, and it has already been done to some extent, more if necessary. But certainly this ongoing uncertainty about power is disturbing. It's no more disturbing in schools than it is for businesses and the health sector and other organizations. We are all trying to manage it. Education is a critical thing for the future, but so are the demands in the economy and the health sector. So I think we have to manage the best we can and work around the inconvenience that is being caused.
Yeah, and just lastly, Doc, in terms of what the MEC said for Gauteng on Sunday when he announced that parents would be receiving those SMS to let them know where their kids are being placed. He was not saying this for the first time when he said his concern is that every year Gauteng, the number of pupils who want to attend schools in Gauteng swell up, and there's just not enough for all these pupils to go to. So this obviously speaks to the fact that Gauteng is the economic hub of the country. But what can other provinces do to assist with this? I mean, I think it's not enough now after so long in democracy that other provinces just get to sit there and say, oh, well, you're the economic hub, so you take it all.
Wow, that is a very difficult economic question.
Yeah.
People are moving into Gauteng, and the MEC is responsible for creating enough spaces in schools, which is a difficult job. And yes, I saw the news about the number of schools. That is happening. How they will all be finished by January, I'm not sure. That will add about 50,000 or so learning spaces in schools. But it's true. We know there are economic hubs in the country, and it's to be expected that people will move to these hubs. It's an international phenomenon that more and more people will move to the centers of economic operation worldwide. And I think I've seen predictions for our country of 60% by the year, whatever, fairly soon. So I think that's what we have to prepare for. The funding must also go with the learners. So if the children are migrating into other provinces, then the funding that would be given to them does need to go along as well. And it needs to happen at the same time, because these building of classrooms, additional classrooms, is expensive. And the previous MEC spoke about the enormous challenge that she would have had. There just wasn't enough money to build the number of schools that she said were needed when she was here. And it has got worse since then. So this was a new idea of the MEC to get schools to take charge of building, that money would be transferred and they could take charge of the building of their own schools. That would help with speeding up processes dependent on municipalities functioning and giving the necessary authorizations, the department's own inspectors doing what they have to do. It's a long chain of things that has to be done before a school can actually build a classroom. It's protective things. Make sure the building is properly designed, it has the right foundations, that the ground on which it's being built is actually all right, because we know that has been a case somewhere else where it wasn't all right to build a place because of the
ground,
the location. The ground was not stable enough for building. So all of those, protective processes have to be followed in order to do the job properly. It takes time. And I think it was a good idea. It also costs the school a little bit. It's not entirely coming out of the government's pocket, out of the provincial pocket, because there are hidden costs that schools need to cover. So it's not every school that can actually even afford to do it.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Dr. Cereseto. And it was so lovely speaking to you. You were my principal for my high school life, Ms. Cereseto, Parktown High School for Girls. So it feels very good to speak to you. I did well, so I hope I make you proud. Thank you very much, Dr. Anthea.
I do. I'm proud of you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anthea Cereseto, the CEO of the Governing Body Foundation. All right.